Every month in the world of FPV, new products come out, and every month in the world of FPV, myself and my co-host, It's Blunty, go over the new products that we think are worth, well, I was about to say worth your time, but really we think are worth our time. How you doing, Blunty?
Good, Joshua. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. We got a relatively short list today. In fact, last month, we spent 45 minutes bitching, and then we're kind of in a bad mood for the whole roundup. But this time we were smart. We spent 45 minutes bitching and then took the weekend off and came back fresh. So we're gonna put our positive faces on. Let's try it. Is that your positive face?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, this is my positive face.
Awesome. And we're gonna start out with some top products that they're so cool they have to go first regardless of what category they're in. And I think you'd agree, Blunty, the probably most interesting, exciting product this month is the GoPro Hero 10 Black Bones.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. I mean, the fact that GoPro is marketing this as an FPV focused device is it's huge. It's something we haven't seen up to this point.
Yeah, I've always complained that, like, people say, will GoPro bring back the Hero Session? And my response to that was, I don't see it happening because they don't even know that the FPV market exists. Their market is snowboarders and skiers and motorcyclists and not us. And today I am proven wrong because they do know that we exist. In fact, they explicitly market this. There's literally a Cinewhoop in the marketing materials. But sadly, they didn't make another Hero 5 session. They made a naked GoPro Hero 10 for cinema people. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, I think from GoPro's angle, it makes the most sense from what we know about the size of our market versus the rest of GoPro. I would guess this is like a probing entry into our world to see like, hey, we recognize you. We're building something that should help you out. We're still going to warranty it. You know, a big part of this is that, ends up being about 60 grams when you put it on the scale. From what I've seen, and then that's a warrantyable 60-gram Hero 10, and it's basically a feature-complete Hero 10 except for the battery, and except for the traditional case and the screen. So that seems to be pretty big, I would say, for most people because they don't want to have the customizable, smaller version of the Hero 10 that you would have to build yourself, or you would have to pay extra to build, like the naked versions that we've seen come out in a lot of areas. But like you mentioned, this could have been a session. Instead, this was a shrank down version of the bone or version of the Hero 10. So essentially what we got was the same board, the same sensor, plugged into a case that they molded to be a little smaller and sleeker for our industry.
I think the upside is that, like you said, Blunty, it's a 60-gram Hero 10. So it's not heavy. It has great image quality. For cinema use, it's going to be just knock it out of the park. And unlike every other naked camera, which is terrible quality, dies for no reason, doesn't really work, this one is made by GoPro and warranted by GoPro. You get up to 2 replacements per year if you buy the GoPro subscription. And I think there are going to be people for whom that is a selling point.
Yeah, it does look like they're only selling this directly through GoPro, at least at this time. And currently it's only in the United States. So it seems more like a trial product, hey, we're not putting too much out there by direct selling this to you. We're not making retailers stock this, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting to see, again, this foray into the hobby. And I'm sure if they sell enough of these and if this makes enough sense for their bottom line, they'll keep pushing the FPV side of things. So.
Well, that would be amazing. We'll see how many returns they get through insurance and whether that makes them decide that FPV is a bad market for them.
Yeah, realistically, if you think about what they've been going through, though, they're getting returns from all these drone users they're replacing a screen and battery on that then those users are removing the screen and battery from. So at the end of the day, they may just be saving money because they're already doing some of these warranty returns on these things.
I heard at least one person speculate, and this is pure speculation, that the Hero 10 Bones was made from refurbished, broken Hero 10s that had broken screens, and they were like, well, let's just pull the main board out of it, stick it in the naked GoPro, and resell it. I don't think that's true. but it is a funny idea if it were true. Competitively, Blunty, what is this up against? I mean, like, my first thought is the DJI Action 2, which is similar in weight, but is a full-fledged action camera. Like, the Hero 10 Bones doesn't have a built-in battery. You got to plug it into your flight controller or your balance lead. The DJI Action 2, full-fledged action camera, battery, everything, durability, probably higher. I don't know. Similar weight? What do you think?
Yeah, durability may be higher, but also, has a screen to break. So there's pros and cons there. It also has some extra things. If you're not strictly putting it on a quad, I think the Action 2 has a lot of other things that you might want, like attachable second batteries and other features that would be useful to you. I think purely for
the bones and the naked cameras are really only useful on an aircraft because they don't have a power supply otherwise.
Yeah. Something also, I think, the Action 2 you can buy at Best Buy and you could still do the exchange for, like the digital GoPro exchanges you could do. However, you can't do that with the bones right now. So that may also be an upsell for people who that's available to. So I think it's going to be up to each user to weigh which kind of thing they're looking for. But there are, pros and cons between the two as far as quality too. On paper, the Action 2 says it's 130 meg a second, I believe, and the Hero 10 is 100. However, if you look at the shots, sometimes it looks like maybe the compression that DJI is doing and what they've learned in the action cam market, maybe is different than what GoPro has done. So also Action 2 doesn't have availability to the gyro data, which GoPro does. So that may also be a weighing feature for people. And GoPro has integrated, their new Real Steady 2.0, which has been a big upgrade for them as well. All
right. Well, I've got a full review of the Hero 10 Bones. I've got the Bones. I've also got a DJI Action 2. And I used to have this, but I gave it away. I bought a RunCam 5 Orange specifically for this review. And I'm going to be putting them up against each other. Definitely keep an eye on the channel when that comes out. I should say, Blunty, before we get into this, number one, if you guys are watching this and you're looking for a specific product, there's links in the video description to all the products we talk about. There are timestamps and chapter markers, both in the timeline and in the video description if you want to skip around. And we're going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the video. We're going to pick one of these products and give it away to one or more winners. And that is also in the timestamps and the chapter markers if at any point you want to skip to that. Let's continue, though, Blunty, with another hot top product this month. And I am shilling for myself here. The RunCam Phoenix JB Edition camera has been renewed. I'd love to tell you that it is some new fancy improvement, but the truth is that they just couldn't get the exact sensor that they were using in the old one. And they said, well, we can't make that camera anymore. Here's the new one. So I worked with them to tweak the settings. And the main thing that stands out about this one, though, is that it has the TXRX, the digital interface that lets you change the camera settings by connecting it to your flight controller UART. That is exclusive to the JB Phoenix 2. Enough shilling for myself. The other new product this month, I'll shill for a friend of mine instead of myself. This is the 533. What is this? It's the Orqa, but 533 version? I actually hadn't seen this before you brought it in today, Blunty.
Yeah, this is the, Orqa released their new FPV.One goggle that we talked about previously. And this is basically the 533 edition of it. The one that is collaborating with Evan Turner and Fly 533 to be white and sold through them as well as Orqa.
The 533 one is 45, Blunty. What's the price on the original Orqa? It's 544. Why is it cheaper?
Yeah, it looks like they're actually using a smaller panel in those goggles for race-oriented, I guess, to get the price down. The screen resolution is actually 1024 by 768, and it's a 33-degree FOV instead of 37.
Oh, interesting. So the idea is that racers want an even smaller FOV so they can see that. I kind of don't get it. Like for freestyle, like a 43 or 46 degree FOV, a lot of people feel is a big immersive FOV. The 37 degree FOV on the FPV Pilot, many people were disappointed that it wasn't closer to 45 degrees, but still thought it was okay. So now Evan's got this goggle with lower resolution, so who cares? That's fine. 1024 by 768 is okay, especially if it saves you a little money. But 33 degree FOV is pretty small.
Yeah, it seems like they did this primarily to get the price down, but also just, I guess, because the racers aren't as worried about that FOV, at least from the reports that I've heard, and then from the oriented goal of these goggles. So.
Yeah, I found this video from Evan Turner comparing the 37-degree FOV on the right of the FPV-One pilot with the 33-degree. It's a little hard to sort of get any perspective on what this would actually look like when you put your face in it, but 33 is pretty small. But, I mean, presumably Evan's going to fly with him, so presumably it's okay for racing.
Yeah.
And save a lot of money. That's a fair chunk of money to save, so that's good. Hey there, folks. Joshua from the future here. There's a product that was on our list that somehow me and Blunty overlooked, and I didn't want to leave it out because it's a really important product, so I'm just going to talk about it here for a second. And it is the HDZero video receiver, which is a big freaking deal because people who have wanted to get into the HDZero system have been unable to buy a video receiver for quite a while now, since Fat Shark stopped making the SharkBite receiver. You can see that this video receiver is in many ways similar to the video receiver released by Fat Shark. They both fit onto the front of your goggles if you have HDO goggles or if you have an adapter for some other set of goggles, and they plug into the goggles with an HDMI port. But HDZero has made a couple significant changes. One of the differences is that the patch antennas are no longer built into the module. Instead, you have 4 SMAs. So for people who prefer to use 4 Omni antennas or 4 patch antennas or custom antennas, you now have more options. There are mounting rails molded into the case to allow mounting of custom antennas more easily. It has a built-in real-time clock, which means that your DVR files will have the actual time and date instead of just, December 31st, 2000 or whatever. There is a plug for the installation of an ExpressLRS receiver to use the ExpressLRS VTX backpack function, if you're familiar with that. And it records ambient audio. It's got a microphone built in to record whatever sounds are going on around you instead of just crackly nothing, which is oftentimes what you hear on DVR. Now, as we can see from this comparison video by Ryan Quellet, there are some performance differences between the modules. HDZero had to use a different ASIC. They had to use a different chip, some kind of a different chip in this new receiver because it's to 2022 and there's a chip shortage and everything is out of stock and everything is more expensive. And it means that there are some small differences. I'm going to refer you to Ryan Quellet's video, which I'll link down below if you want to know more detail about some of the nuance. It's about an 11-minute video and he goes into some of the more nuanced differences in the performance between the two modules. But the bottom line is that if you've been trying to get an HDZero VRX, then you can Then you can pre-order it from your favorite stores. Links in the video description below, of course. And you can pick one up when they ship from HDZero, which should be soon, we hope. The other discussion that we gotta have is the price. They were originally listed for like $200, I think, by HDZero as the suggested retail price, and we learned the hard way that that is just a suggestion because, as you can see, some of the retailers are marking it up, and the retailers say, Pyrodrone made a statement about this, they say that there simply is not enough profit in a $200 price point, that they are literally losing money by stocking it, and they've just said, look, we have to charge more money. It sucks that the price has gone up, especially because now it doesn't include any antennas. So the actual price of this, once you add antennas, is going to be significantly more. But the bottom line is, it's 2022. Everything is more expensive. Life is terrible. What are you going to do?
All right, so let's move into our first main category, which is flight controllers and ESCs. And we're going to take a look at some Happymodel all-in-one flight controllers that have just been released. We've got a 12 amp and a 5 amp. So we've got the Happymodel X12, AIO 5-in-1, and the DiamondF4, the new version of the DiamondF4 5-in-1. These are both ExpressLRS integrated and kind of are the new hot choice for 5-in-1s from Happymodel.
This left one, that's the one that was in the Mobeetle6 that you didn't used to be able to get except by buying a Mobeetle6. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And so the Mob Lite had the Diamond-F4, and the Mobeetle6 and the Mobeetle7 have the X12. And so now both of these are available for us to get. And the new Diamond-F4, is the new version of the old one that was in the Mob Lite and now is in the Mobeetle, which we'll look at later.
So this is pretty exciting for anybody building a tiny whoop who wants to put Express LRS as their receiver, which, let's face it, you just should, because the alternative is FRSKY and Express LRS is just better. This flight controller is so good that when I worked with Aaron Ciotti recently to do the Tiny Whoop page on my Ultimate FPV shopping list, he actually recommended if you want to build your own, you just buy a Mobeetle6 and then scrap the parts you don't want. But basically, you buy the Mobe6 just for the flight controller and the frame. So now maybe you don't have to buy a set of motors and a VTX you don't really want. Nice.
Yeah, this is a great option for people. Both these are. Yeah, and if you want the lighter one, definitely the DiamondF4 as well. So cool to see these for sure.
Do we know, are these SPI based or UART based Express LRS?
I believe both these are SPI based.
Oh, I think I find that to be a downside, because with SPI based Express LRS, you have to update Betaflight to update Express LRS. And so usually it's a few revs behind the latest Express LRS features. But on the other side, it's a little bit lower latency and it doesn't take up a UART. So that's nice. It is what it is. Well, I got a couple of ESCs to look at this month, Blunty. This is the AxisFlying 50 amp ESC. It's a BL32 ESC, 128K PWM if you want that ultra high PWM. But to be completely honest with you, Blunty, what made me include it is look how they're doing the XT60 pads. What even are they doing here?
Yeah, I don't know. Also, I'm not sure how this mounts in a quad.
I didn't even notice that. Where are the mounting holes? There are no mounting holes.
I think this goes in their plug-and-play stack. Like you slide it into the stack, I think is how this thing works.
I was kind of excited about this because I thought, oh, I see what they're doing. They're putting this off to the side here, and you can have two capacitors. And sure, it's a little weird that the solder pads are hanging out like this, but maybe that makes sense. I don't know. But this, you can't mount this in a normal frame. You have to use their weirdo stack. So it's basically just a replacement ESC only if you're using this stack, which is less interesting to me. What do you think of this stack, Blenty? You got an opinion?
Not necessarily. I mean, it seems fine. I don't know if your goal is for that, I think it's fine, right? If your goal is plug and play and to have everything kind of easily set up like that, I think it's fine. But you know, like we're seeing right now, it is odd to replace the ESC, for instance. You can't just swap an easy one in there unless you like change how the stack setup is and then, you know, line up the ESCs.
I'm not sure there's an advantage. I'm going to be the curmudgeon here. I'm not sure there's an advantage here because, like, you've got this stack. It's in a metal case. What does that do? It adds weight. Does it improve durability? No. Like, your flight controller isn't typically getting knocked out by impacts like your motors are. So it's adding weight. It's not really affecting durability. And at the end of the day, yes, you have plugs, but any flight controller could. The iFlight, whatever it is, the Success E has plugs for everything. So what are you really getting here other than a weird form factor and additional weight? I don't know. I'm not sold.
Yeah. That's fair. I think those are all fair criticisms.
And you still have to solder up the XT60 plug and the motor wires. Like if they sold this with a pre-soldered XT60 lead and MT30 connectors on the motor wires, I'd go, okay. I still don't think the metal case really has a benefit, but it's a combo for people who don't want to mess around. But here, you still got to solder it up. Why not just get a regular stack? What are you doing, AxisFlying? All right, one more ESC for you, Blunty. Blunty, have you noticed things are getting more expensive these days?
Yes, the chip shortage is definitely upon us and only seems to be getting worse as the months go on, unfortunately.
Yeah, what way back when, 2 years ago, what would you pay for a 4-in-1 ESC? Like a good one?
Well, like expensive ones, I remember paying, $70-$80 for like an expensive 4-in-1.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what if I told you that this month we're looking at the Foxeer Reaper 65 amp ESC 32-bit, $125 for the ESC alone?
Oh, that hurts. I'm gonna say something here. I think this is the price, or I start to look at single.
You could buy single ESCs for $40 a piece and still come out ahead.
I mean, if you blew one, yes, you definitely will.
$30.
Because,
Okay, $30 a piece. My bad. I can't math.
well, as soon as you blow one of these corners,
Yeah.
it's you're either learning to replace FETs and doing SMD work, which doesn't look that easy with the layout of these FETs and the caps and stuff.
Yeah.
Or you're like replacing $126 ESC, and
Yeah.
I think this is where I start looking at singles for sure. I mean, I have a couple quads of singles, but yeah, at $126, oof, even at 80. I remember, you break them and you're like, oh man, $80.
Oh yeah. Even at 50 or 60. For me,
Right.
$50 or $60, like you could get cheap 4-in-1 ESCs for $40 or $45. And obviously it sucks when they blow up, but they blow up and it's the price of doing business. The $60 to $80 like premium ones, like the T-Motor F55A, super premium, super good ESC, used to run, if my memory's correct, around $65. And you were like, ooh, that's a little expensive, but it's a good ESC. Foxeer Reaper, to be fair, one of the ESCs that racers run, and as close to bulletproof as ESCs get, but nothing's bulletproof. Like, when you blow it, you're going to be real damn sad. I don't know who the audience for this is. It goes up to 8S. Goes up to 8S.
Yeah. And we should, I mean, this may be a good time to point out, I think we've shown it on the show before, but, like Diatone has the F65 now, which is competing with this. And, that's BL Heli 32, and it's $70.
Yeah.
So that's going to be up to you based on, that's where I think that would used to be the 40. And then this would have been the 80, now the Mamba is the 70 and this is the 125.
Yep.
So I think it's up to you where you want to spend that money.
I think the person this is for, like the 8S rating to me says that it's going to be a little less likely to fry on 6S because you have that overhead. Foxeer Reaper generally makes very good ESC. So like, I don't feel like they're trying to rip you off. I feel like they're trying to sell you a very good product at a price that is proportional to its quality. I just am not sure how many people out there are. It's the same as the AxisFlying Thor Express LRS module. It was originally like $130, and I was like, and no matter how good it is, I just don't know if people are going to be willing to pay for it. Oh well, good luck, Foxeer. Good luck.
Speaking of that, tease for later, we'll be looking at that as well.
Alrighty, that's flight controllers and ESCs this month, Blunty. What do we got? Oh, I got one thing, Blunty, in the goggles category, and then we'll go on. This is not a new product. This is the Skyzone Sky 020 goggles. And the only reason this is here is because this is a decent set of goggles. You can watch, there's reviews. I did a review of it. There's other reviews on. Go watch the reviews, decide if it works for you. It is a $300 binocular style goggle. And there just isn't anything else in that price point other than box goggles. So like, I don't know how Newbie Drone got this, but Henry's leaving. It's not for him. He wants the premium goggles. I just want to let you guys know it's out there. It's in stock. It's available. And if you're shopping for goggles at the $300 price point and you really don't want box goggles, this could be a solid choice.
Next up, we're going to take a look at some frames. We've got a couple frames this week. First one is going to be the Hyperlow B-Side.
I reviewed, I think, the Hyperlow Vert a while back. My take on Hyperlow frames is that they are exquisitely engineered, but almost to a fault. Like, when you unbox a Hyperlow frame, it's like a freaking model ship. There's so many parts. And they're good frames, but they have a level of complexity that doesn't really jibe with me. Because when they break, you're like, oh, I need a spare part. Which of these umpteen parts broke? I don't know. People love them. Some people love them, though. Well, what is the B-Side specifically?
It looks like it's meant for HD and analog freestyle and cinema, basically everything. They're minimalist, lightweight frame, kind of gold everywhere. Also, it looks like they no longer have special arms, so the arms all fit each other as as you would expect from most frames. Now
they can convert from dead cat to true X, I guess, just by flipping the arms upside down. That's a pretty clever little design choice.
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit, it looks like he shows that mechanism. It looks like it's going to be 110 grams.
That's respectable. That's a lightweight for a freestyle frame. Lightish. They get a little lighter, but with some compromises. Good quality frames. Hyperlow makes good quality frames. But you have to kind of want that level of complexity and feel there's an advantage to it. Like if you compare this to something like one of Kebab's frames that also comes in at 110 grams, but only has like 4 arms and 2 frame plates or something. To me, I don't know. I feel like that's the direction I would prefer to.
I was saying, it looks like they're going with a spine design as well, which is something I think a lot of companies are doing. Just like they do a middle piece or the arms converge, and on this one they're doing that bottom plate with the spine, and then
the Halo RC does a similar thing. Halo RC's frames do that. It's a way of keeping the weight down while maintaining rigidity.
Next up, we're going to take a look at the Odinata frame, which is pretty cool little frame here. This is an open source frame. We've also got a Thingiverse link that we'll put in the video description for you. This is a 74mm FPV frame.
Ooh, teeny tiny.
Yeah, pretty cool little open source frame and design.
Now, when you say it's open,
Crafted Quads.
Now, when you say it's open source, most people are, and Thingiverse, most people are thinking of 3D printing, but this is made of carbon.
Yeah, this is more similar to, I think, the early releases of the Source One, at least for currently. However, this will be moving to Armatan. So I talked to Crafted Quads about this, and he said basically Armatan is going to essentially start to make their own version of it, and then start to rectify a little bit on the design, and that'll stay closed source with them. But the open source version will be like this, and then also for anyone to work with or cut themselves. So I think CNC will also continue to sell it.
I see. So when on Thingiverse, these are not 3D printing files; these are DXF files. So you could cut them yourself out of carbon if you had a CNC machine, or you could send them to somebody like CNC Madness and get them to cut it for you, or you could buy it from Armatan.
Correct.
Yep. What size props is this made for?
40mm up to 40mm. So it's sort of like a 75mm whoop, but without the without the stuff on it, and more built like a sort of a standard quad frame. A little bit of weirdness.
$12. I mean, can't go wrong for $12, can you? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, Blenty, let's take a look at some bind and fly quads.
This month we've got the Mobeetle6, and we took a look earlier at the new DiamondF4, and this is their new version of the integrated quads with the DiamondF4 in them. So this is a Mobeetle6 Whoop and a toothpick version, basically just without the ducts from Happymodel. This is the 0702 motors, 23,000 kV, and they do have an Express LRS version or the FRSKY version. Yeah,
so
pretty
is this
cool little
similar to the Mobeetle Lite? Is it just an ultra light version of the Mobeetle6?
Yeah, it's a Mobe Lite, but just a little more focused. I think the motors are 0702 instead of 0703 now. Let me double.
They've got smaller motors. It's a carbon fiber frame. Is it a carbon fiber frame? The toothpick version has a carbon fiber frame, whereas the Whoop version has a plastic frame with ducts. I do like that. I like the idea of a tiny Whoop with a little carbon fiber frame and open props. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's correct. So the Mobe Lite 6 comes with EX0802. So there's like the thin curved bell versions of their motors, and this one is the standard, round bell versions, but the 0702s. So
it's kind of cool. $130. I'd give that a try. I think Newbie Drone has the Mosquito they sent me, which looks like basically a version of this. And I don't know, now that I'm actually thinking more about it, that kind of looks like fun. That looks like fun. I'd give that a try. And we're back looking at another product from AxisFlying. And I have the same thought about this that I did about the Stack, which I'll reveal in a second. But let's just introduce the product. This is the KOLAS 6-inch long-range folding bind and fly drone. It folds up like this.
Yeah. Axis said, hey, a lot of people have these big drones and they got to strap them on their backpack to go like hike in the mountains and go fly around and go do cool stuff that's not close to a car or close to wherever. And they're like, hey, why don't we just make one that you fold up and then you throw in your backpack or throw wherever is convenient, and you can pull it out, unfold it, and fly around however you want. And that is the idea and the the solution behind the KOLAS 6-inch. So I think this is pretty cool. I'm not sure how well, I haven't held one of these. I don't know how well the locking mechanisms work. I don't know how well the resonance characteristics are going to be. I can't imagine they're going to be perfect, But I think for a long-range 6-inch, I don't know that you're necessarily trying for that kind of thing. You just want something that's, kind of fun to pull out and cruise along with. So I'm cautiously, I would say, neutral on this.
Cautiously neutral is the best you could come up with. All right. Well, I am. The thought that I had about the AxisFlying flight control stack was, you put it in a big metal box. What's the advantage of that compared to the disadvantage, which is weight? And I'm like, I don't see an advantage, right? You still, okay. I have the same thought about this. You've done this cool thing, and it's cool. This is a cool quad that you made it fold up. You have done this interesting thing, but what's the point? Like, are people flying a 6-inch long distance cruiser? Is this going to be easier to pack in their bag, for example? Like right now, they've folded it up and they've got collapsible props on it, which are kind of was a fad for a while, and then they had some disadvantages, and most people moved away from them. Are people with 6-inch long distance rigs really struggling to strap them to the outside of their backpack? I somewhere out there, someone's like, no, this is perfect for me. But the downside is going to be that there is going to be worse durability, because anytime you add joints, locking joints instead of like direct screws, you compromise durability. And I would bet that the resonance characteristics are going to be worse. So you're going to struggle a little bit with tuning. You're going to struggle a little bit with maybe jello, just because, again, those locking joints are not going to be as secure. They're going to have more vibration than a direct screw joint. So you've introduced complexity, and I'm not sure what you're getting in exchange for that.
Well, I think they're going to find out if people buy this or not. I think that would be the answer, right? If you buy this, you think there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I personally think that I could see a world where you could throw this, attach this to the back of your backpack, and it's a lot easier to carry around than some 6-inch with its arms and props sticking all everywhere.
Like, I'm constantly hanging up props on something when a quad's on the back of my backpack. Sometimes I take the props off, but then I got to put them on again when I go to fly.
Yeah. Especially 6-inch is going to be sticking out the edges a little more and stuff. So, yeah.
Some people are going to buy it just because it's cool, and it is cool. Price, analog with Express LRS. That's nice. Comes with Express LRS. $305. Not a bad price for a bind and fly.
Something we can say about Axis is they are not afraid to try new stuff. They are all about trying new stuff. Do a new kind of quad, a new, what was that X8 they had that had the loop ducts on it?
That's true.
And then they've got their plug and play stack that doesn't even have the normal holes in it. And they've got, they bought the HD box. Nobody else made a specific HD box for DigiView. They made a special version of their,
is it
their
me,
ELRS transmitter.
Is it this list of their products that you've rattled off has got me thinking, Plenty. Yeah. Is it me? Like, they made the AxisFlying Thor Express LRS module, hands down, the best made, best quality Express LRS module. And I looked at it and went, that's cool, but it's kind of big and it's expensive. I don't know why you did that. They make, I was a big fan of the AxisFlying box. Okay. So that's a point in their column. They make this quad and I'm like, that's cool, but why did you do it? And they're like, hey, I'm out here. I'm doing cool stuff. Why are you so down on us? Maybe I should be more positive about them.
I don't know. Like I said, I think the definitely positive thing I can say is that they are not afraid to do cool new stuff. Right. And they're going to stumble across some cool new stuff that I think everybody's going to like eventually. If some of these aren't selling well, some of them will, I would imagine, eventually.
I just want everything to stay the same as it always was forever, except for like the two things that I want to fix.
Old man Bardwell.
Always a good sign in a reviewer when you hate new products. Anyway, moving on. How about some motors, Blenty? Let's talk about motors. You and I have never had any controversial opinions about motors, and I'm sure that will continue this week.
533 has some new motors this month. The Champion Edition, CE 2207. We've got two versions of this. We know the 533 loves the MR30s for the quick slops, so they've got the MR30 edition and the standard edition if you want the normal wires. So, these are one thing to note. Typically, 533 does Freedom Spec. These are not a Freedom Spec legal motor. These are just a general racing motor that you could use for non-Freedom Spec races.
Yeah, the KV is not right for Freedom Spec. To me, that seems like a bit of a miss, although people are going to love these motors. the big advantage of the original 533-2207 motors is you can take your exact quad, swap it from a 6S to a 3S battery, and race it in Freedom Spec races. And then when multi-GP season comes around, you put a 6S battery on it, you race that exact same quad in regular multi-GP races. There's no doubt that a lot of racers are going to choose the higher KV version, the Champions Edition, because they want just that little bit more RPM for their multi-GP racing. But it means they're going to have to swap motors if they want to race Freedom Spec, and I kind of don't know why they didn't just make them the same KV and make them Freedom Spec legal, but I'm sure they had a good reason. Blunty, we got 2 more motors this month. They're not new motors per se, but there's a new version of the motors. The T-Motor Pacer has been updated to V3, and the T-Motor F60 has been upgraded to version 5. I assume they did the F40 as well, although I'm not sure I saw that. The F60 and the F40 usually go together generationally. F60 is a 2207 and the F40 is a 2306. Pacer, $23. It's like a Unibel. Probably a pretty good quality motor. We're not going to rehash our little discussion from last week about the motor to beat in that price range. Any thoughts about this other than...
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is that it does seem like the Pacer has typically been their somewhat budget motor. At least the cheaper motor line, and they've been stepping up that price a little bit. So just be aware that at some point the Pacer was 21, I think, and then 22. Now we get 23. I'm sure that's due to parts costs and stuff, but it is creeping up towards the other motor we're looking at, the F60 Pro V. So definitely look at your options and look at what else is going to be in the price ranges, both lower and higher, I would say, before you hop into that Pacer V3.
Yeah, the F60 Pro V, certainly one of the best motors. A lot of people love it, and T-Motor motors have been some of the best motors you can get. You certainly pay a premium for them, close to $27. And there certainly are other motors in the $23 price range, or cheaper, that you could be looking at. But these guys are out there. What they change about the Pro 5? Bell design, weight, EZO bearing is a good bearing. Titanium shaft, pretty standard stuff, at least on paper. How about we talk about props?
So we're looking at the first prop we're looking at is the HQR42. This is basically, I guess this is kind of like the 533 Champion Edition, sort of as a parallel, because we had the R38 prop as like the standard racing prop, the Evan Turner 533 prop, and now we've got a R42 prop, which isn't 533 themed, but it is like a more souped up version of the R38. Yeah. It's a little higher pitch, meant for a little more hardcore racing.
And certainly people who race maybe at higher altitudes, like yourself, in the Denver area, where the air is thinner, they tend to want to use higher pitch props. So that R38 prop, Evan Turner lives in Knoxville. Of course, he races all over the world. But if somebody wanted a little higher pitched version, either for more top end or just to, because of where they live, the R42 is there for them. And then I thought we would take a look at the new DAL Cyclone. DAL Cyclone, it's a fine prop. But what makes the DAL Cyclone line stand out to me is it used to be that the DAL Cyclone was the good budget prop. If you couldn't afford HQ or GemFan, you bought DAL Cyclones. And I'm curious to explore whether that's still true today. Because I noticed that the Cyclone is $3 for a pack of 4, whereas the HQProp R42, for example, is $3.40. And that's pretty typical. So there's a little bit of savings in the DAL Cyclone. But what made me want to bring this up was a lot of stores, and we're looking right here at Pyrodrone, but they're not the only one who does this. A lot of stores will have a bulk discount on props. In fact, I thought Race Day Quad started doing it, but I don't see it here. But when you put in that bulk discount, man, the price comes way, way down. $2.71. So first of all, if you're buying from a store that doesn't have a bulk discount, go buy from a store that has a bulk discount. Okay, so here looking at Newbie Drone, yeah, you can see they don't show the pricing, but you can see the image here. Buy more, save more. 10 packs, 20% off. 15 packs, 25%. 20 plus packs, 30% off. That's actually a better discount than the Pyro discount. Is that on all props? 5-inch. Let's just pick one more prop.
Yeah, it's at the top. It's like all prop.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, Newbie Drone, the best bulk discount so far on props. Who else does it? Rotor Riot? 30% off 30 sets of props with discount code. So, on Rotor Riot, they don't automatically apply it. You have to use the discount code. And it's 30% off 30 sets or 20% off 20 sets. So, still better than Pyrodrone.
Yeah, if you get down to 30, it's a little better. Otherwise, they match Pyro.
They
But
match
it looks like
Pyro.
Newbie Drone has the best. So.
Okay, so if you are going to buy props, don't buy like four packs of props at a time. You can get significant savings by buying 20 or 30 sets at a time. Of course, the downside of that, Blunty, is if you're not sure you're going to love these props, then don't buy 30 of them. But once you've settled on a prop you know you're going to like, stock up because, boy, you're going to go through them.
So next up, we'll take a look at some parallel charging boards. We've got the Flying Sandal V2, and we've got the WhoopJuice Fractal Engineering board.
Yeah, Blunty, and I'm going to take issue with what you said there, although you did correctly read the product name. They say it's a parallel charging board, but in fact, it's a series charging board, which basically it's designed for 1S Whoop batteries. It makes them look like a 4S to 6S battery, and you use your regular charger to balance charge your Whoop batteries up to 6 at a time. But they call it a parallel charging board because nobody knows what a series board is.
Well, and you're charging all your 1S in parallel, right? So it depends on how you look at it.
I guess the fact that you're charging them at the same time, sort of conceptually, they're in parallel, but they're really in series electrically. Regardless. The Flying Sandal and the WhoopJuice, both very good examples of this. The Flying Sandal has recently been updated to allow you. It used to be that you had to plug in 6 batteries at a time or it wouldn't work. It's been updated with this additional little plug here that lets you select. So you plug this plug here into the last cell. You plug in 3 batteries, you plug this little plug into cell 4, and then it would appear as a 3S battery in your charger, and you would be able to do as many as you want. It has BT 2.0 positions, but you have to buy and solder on the BT 2.0 plugs yourself if you use those. That's why I wanted to include the WhoopJuice Fractal Engineering Board, the exact same product in concept, but the version of it from WeBleed FPV comes with the BT 2.0 pre-installed. And I believe it's only the WeBleed one that comes with BT 2.0 pre-installed, although you can buy the Fractal board elsewhere. So both good options if you want to charge your Whoop batteries using your full-size charger.
Like another solution, if you don't have a charger or if you'd like a dedicated charger for your 1S batteries, the VIFLY WhoopStor 2.0 is out. This is the updated, basically fixed, an updated version of the WhoopStor 1.0. And this is basically, just an integrated version and way to update or charge both your 1S BT2 and PH2 batteries.
Yeah, I think this is the best dedicated 1S Whoop battery charger you can buy today. The earlier version of it had some bugs in the firmware, like it would not fully charge some of the batteries some of the time. If you did buy the V1.0, VIFLY is doing a recall, and they said basically contact support and we'll send you another one. I don't know how that's going, but the V2 has fixed those bugs, and feature-wise, it is super exciting. It's got PH 2.0 and BT 2.0 connectors, so no problem there. It can do 4.2 or high volt, 4.35 volts. Can take either DC or XT60 input. I think up to 6S, up to 5S. Which is it, Blunty? I can't remember. Is it only 5S?
It looks like 5S. Yes,
that's correct. Yeah, that sucks. It can also take USB power as well. So you got some options there. Sucks that it can't take 6S. That would be a real killer. I don't know why they did that. And it has a storage mode. That's the other thing that's really great about it. So you can put your Whoop batteries back to storage so they last longer if you don't fly them all the way down, which I don't think there's any other dedicated Whoop chargers that have a storage mode. Here's a new battery. Let's talk about it.
So GNB has a new 1100 pack. They are green, and they're listed as a high, let's see here, a high output discharge rate, 120C discharge rate.
So this is rated 120C, 1100 milliamp hours, and it weighs 190 grams. And when we first saw this, we said, but wait, what about this? 1100 milliamp hour, 130C. Well, 130 is more than 120. 196 grams. So, like, is this the same battery or not? Or, like, what's the difference?
Yeah, they appear to be very similar. Yeah, the green one seems to be a slight bit smaller and a slight bit lighter and a slight bit lower C rating. So I'm not sure, and a few less bucks. So I'm not sure exactly, how this falls in. Maybe it was just sourcing of some cells they had or something to create these packs. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I kind of wonder if this green covering, what material it is, if it is a more durable material than the typical heat shrink that's on batteries. I know that's the thing that some batteries have been doing, like the Speedy Pizza battery from CNHL. One of its selling points is that it has a durable kind of rubber coating. This doesn't quite look like the heat shrink, although it may be. Yeah. So $25. G&B makes very good packs. They do. 120C. It looks like a pretty decent value choice. We're going to talk about controllers. Our favorite vendor in all of FPV, BETAFPV.
Yeah, BETAFPV is here with the LiteRadio 3 Pro.
Yay, new version of the LiteRadio.
Yeah, so the LiteRadio in the past has definitely had some issues with gimbal quality.
Yeah, the LiteRadio V1, the gimbals, the solder joints on the gimbals broke, and people buying the radio had to open it up and solder the wires on. Oops.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the case with the LiteRadio 2 and the 2 SE as well, as far as I know, too. So.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
So now we've got the LiteRadio 3 Pro, and as always with BETAFPV products, I want to love them because whoever they've got doing their designs is great. This is, on paper, such a cool radio. Like, this little screen, right? Express LRS built in. So cool. So cool.
Yeah. So this is going to come with the typical BETAFPV caveats. HDX is officially supported, but there's currently no target in the companion for it. The same is true for Express LRS. There's no official support yet. There may be, at some point, some of the devs received early units of these, but there is no official target currently for it. So just be warned to know that when you order.
They released, just like they released their Express LRS module with their own proprietary firmware. It was based on HDX, but the way that it's supposed to be done is that they work with the devs, then they get rolled into the main project, and everybody can run the main Express LRS code, which supports this hardware. But what BETAFPV seems to do is they make their own version of the code, and they just release the project with their own code on it, and then people have to... Well, potentially there's bugs. Potentially there's issues. We don't know because the Express LRS devs and the EdgeTX devs haven't looked at the product and said, "Hey, this thing is wrong with it." And that's not a hypothetical. BETAFPV have released products before with bugs and problems in them.
Yeah, like I said, the devs did receive units of these, but they did not work with the devs to get an official Express LRS release ready for the release of the hardware.
Right.
So I think I want to be clear about that because they claim to have worked with the devs. But it seems like that means that they have sent the devs units and that there is some communication, but that doesn't mean that there's a complete setup and flashability out of the box. I know currently Albert Kim was saying he has the early model of this, and he is not able to flash his binding phrase to it because of the custom firmware. So.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't want to be too harsh. This could be a good product. What's the price? $90. That's, I mean, compared to the other $90 controllers, this could be a good product. Specs-wise, build quality. But until it is actually fully supported in both HDX and Express LRS, I would say I would stay away from it, if only to send a message that, well, I want to say vendors, but I specifically mean BETAFPV, who consistently does this, that they need to not release pre-release half-baked stuff that potentially doesn't work. It needs to be it's officially supported. They need to work with the project. And then
Yep.
there's the build quality, which we just absolutely can't vouch for because in the past it's been bad.
Yes, correct.
And that is why I did not receive a review copy of this, and Albert Kim did.
Fair enough.
Because I say things like that to you, mostly. And you. All right, moving on.
Now, on to basically the opposite, which is a radio you can directly endorse.
I
The
do and have.
TX16S, the TX16S Mark II. There's even one of these with your name on it.
It's true. RADIOMASTER TX16S, most popular radio in FPV today. They've released a new version of the TX16S, the Mark II, with a few little improvements. Mostly...
Well, you say a few little improvements. I just want to say ExpressLRS integrated is the big improvement, I think.
Yes,
the option
that's the
for
big
that. So.
They have other little improvements like reverse polarity protection and a change to the trainer port. And the big one is that ExpressLRS is included. There's also new variants you can buy. So, for example, if we look here, you can order it with the AGO1 gimbal pre-installed, whereas you didn't used to be able to do that. So that's kind of cool. You can buy it with either a 4-in-1 module or ExpressLRS module internal. So if you're done with FreeSky, ExpressLRS internal instead, your call. There is a JB edition that I worked with them to spec. I wanted the Express. I thought I was going to be the one who pushed them to put ExpressLRS internal. It turned out they had already been working on it for months. I was like, hey, you want to do a custom version of the TX16S? But I'll only do it if you put ExpressLRS in it. And they were like, cool, yeah, we already did that. We'll be happy to work with you, though. And I was like, oh. But anyway, the JB edition comes with my voice pack pre-installed. So that's cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different variants. I've got a video going through all these different variants and how to tell the difference between them and what the pros and cons are. I'll put a link in the video description.
So next up, we're going to take a look at something we've talked about before, which is the AxisFlying Micro TX module, the Thor. And the Thor is a one-lot module that AxisFlying came out with and seemed to be, quite a decent module. It had good build quality and a fairly large form factor, but seemed nicely built and stuff. It had the nice screen on the back and support with the devs and all that stuff. Unfortunately, it came out at $140 or $130, somewhere around there with the receiver. But now they've decided to drop the price on this run. And now we're seeing the price with a receiver combo. We're looking at $94.90 currently. I think without a receiver, it's like $85 right now.
Yeah.
So much more reasonable price. Still a little higher priced than the other modules, but with the extra features this has and the higher build quality, I would say this is definitely this is much closer to going on a list.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. $60 for a Happymodel Pro module. Doesn't have a screen. 1 watt output power. Has really good build quality. Compare that to $130-ish for the AxisFlying, and I'm like, I don't care how much better it is. It's twice the price, and I would just pass. But when the AxisFlying comes down to $80 or $90, now you're at a point, I think, where you might be willing to pay for that premium. And currently, only Pyrodrone and the AxisFlying website are showing the reduced price. But I did confirm with AxisFlying that is a permanent price drop. And I guess they weren't selling. And if you're seeing it in other stores at the $130 price, I'm sorry, stores who paid too much for it, but I'm afraid that people just should buy it from a store or from the AxisFlying shop where you can get it at the reduced price. And hopefully we'll see those prices come down across the board. We got a couple other little random things that don't really fit in any category. And then we're going to get to the giveaway.
Well, first up, we've got the Orqa website selling us the ImmersionRC PowerPlay. So we know Orca's been working with ImmersionRC, and they got together to bring back the PowerPlay, which seems to be currently exclusively only available on their website and has already sold out since they listed it. So I'm not sure when they'll be restocking those. You can set up the notification.
Wow. It was in stock and it's now sold out?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've just wasted everyone's time. No, I guess the good news is that ImmersionRC is still making this. This is not just a one-time thing. They have said that they plan to do more manufacturing runs. So if you're looking for arguably the best analog DVR, certainly the best external analog DVR, this is it. And you missed it. Sucks to be you. Next up, we have, I don't know what the hell this is, Blunty. What the hell is this? It's custom gloves that help you grip your transmitter better.
Yeah, if you felt like you needed, some kind of style and grip on your transmitter, Xhelix has got you covered. We've got some FPV gloves.
You don't want to put grip tape on your radio, so instead, let's put grip tape on your hands. I do like the idea of fingerless gloves for FPV. I bought a set of gloves. Doesn't get cold here in Knoxville often, but I bought a set of gloves with little peel back fingertips so that while I was flying, I could just peel back the finger and the thumb and fly with them. And it's a little annoying, but it does work. I certainly could see an argument for this if you're trying to keep your hands warm, but I don't know. Somebody out there is going to be like, that's exactly what I need. All right, Blunty, I got a weird one for you. You know, every month we just look at new products that have come up on vendors' websites. Pyrodrone has a store brand of 3D printing filament. And I got to tell you, I have no idea what's going on here because, like, $30, it's clearly they're not making their own filament. This is clearly just a rebrand, right? But why would I pay $30 for Pyroflex filament when I could just buy Sane Smart TPU? I kind of don't get it.
Yeah, well, I definitely had the same initial reaction as you. And then I stumbled across the Pyroflex.io website, and it looks like Pyroflex is becoming a new brand by Pyrodrone, or as like a sister brand of Pyrodrone, where they will eventually start to sell printers as well as filaments and various different 3D printing products. So
Pyrodrone is branching out into printers and 3D printing.
Yeah, and just to confirm exactly what was going on there, I actually reached out and got a statement from Pyrodrone, and they let us know exactly what was going on. So they basically said they're happy to share some details. Ryan, Serge's son, is taking over this Pyroflex venture. And they'll develop the brand. They're going to have several dealers and wholesale buyers for Pyroflex, and hopefully, branching out into the 3D printing world. So pretty cool.
Wholesale buyers. So they're actually, it's hard to believe they're producing the filament. Like,
it seems like they found some manufacturing place, some white label company, to produce filament, and they're white labeling it as Pyroflex.
It'll be really interesting to see how this manifests, because there is a big gap in the 3D printing market for someone to sort of integrate and solve problems and provide a seamless solution. Like, if you look at Prusa printers, like, Prusa are very good printers, don't get me wrong, but I think a big advantage of the Prusa environment is that the printers, the filament, the slicer, it's all sort of preset. And so if you want to print, you just sort of kind of just select your printer, select your filament, and hit print, and they've mostly figured it out for you. I could see Pyrodrone doing that, but instead of doing it with an expensive printer, they do it with like something like an Ender, an inexpensive printer.
Yeah, but the problem with that is the whole reason that Prusa did what they did was because they needed to do that to guarantee what they had, right? The only way you can sell a printer that is going to be perfect every time is if you manufacture all those printers, and what they're doing is print all the parts themselves and have all the guides themselves and build all the filament themselves with their own filament machines. And every single part of the process is done in-house with Prusa to build their own thing. So when they give you specs, they have it. But if the factory messes up the width on something, it's the Prusa factory, and it's the Prusa workers, not somebody they're paying to make the Prusa filament.
So the question will be, and I'm really interested to see how this plays out, is Pyroflex just going to basically be a white label brand where they get someone to OEM a product for them, they slap their name on it, and they push it out into the world? Or are they going to be more of a sort of an umbrella ecosystem integrator, problem solver, where they solve problems for the users so the users don't experience problems? And if that's the second one, I think there's potentially a lot of value there.
I think we also have to consider the fact that, they're going to be competing with other brands who are known in the market, So if you take a look at SaneSmart, and Other people sell SainSmart TPU in the FPV hobby for similar prices, but if you go on Amazon, you can get a 1 kilogram roll for maybe the same price as an 800-gram roll.
Right.
And maybe you have more options or a similar amount of options. And you can get it through Amazon where you've already got prime shipping, things like that. So they're going to be competing with a lot of different areas here.
Yeah.
Even Prusament TPU is somewhere around the $30 to $35 mark. So
Right.
they're going to be competing with a lot of quality products.
Yeah. If I had a Prusa printer, I would buy Prusa filament in large part because I would know that the Prusa slicer settings were tuned for that filament on that printer. And it's going to be the closest you can get to not having to think about it and just print and go. But if I wasn't in that situation, then I would buy the best filament that I know is the best, as opposed to taking a chance on some third party. And that brings us to the last topic of the roundup, and your favorite one, I'm sure, the giveaway. And Blunty, I can't think of a better product to give away this month than a RADIOMASTER TX16S Max. For anybody who doesn't have one or wants a spare or just wants one to give away as a present, or maybe wants an upgrade. And no, you don't have to buy the JB edition if you don't want to. Get the standard edition. Let's see. $250, or with the AGO ones, $79. That's tough.
That's a tough one. I was going to say, yeah, you're giving away 2 at that point, right?
I mean, I'd rather give away 2 of the standard one, but the AGO1 gimbals are super premium. I am officially going to give away 2 of the standard radios at the $250 price point. But if you would prefer an upgraded one, we'll work something out. Like maybe I'll just
that's fair.
PayPal you $250 and you can buy it yourself. In order to enter the giveaway, there's instructions down in the video description below. There's a link to a Google form that you click through. It's all the way at the bottom of the video description. Go down and find it. I will announce the winners in a pinned comment at the top of this comment section. So if you're wondering if I've announced the winners yet, go look down in the comment section. And if there's a pinned comment announcing the winners, then yes. And if not, then no. Other than that, I don't know what to say, except we'll see you next month, Blunty. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Awesome.